All right, everyone, here is the Tesla Model X Performance. Now, let me just start this video off just by saying one thing. I know these Tesla videos usually get a huge mix of love or hate, and I just want to say I'm just reviewing this from a product standpoint. I don't care about anything surrounding the company. My job isn't to review companies as a whole. It is to review the products that I have before me, which is this right here. If I were to review the company as a whole, I would be talking about Dieselgate in every single Volkswagen Group video, and you don't see me doing that. So, I'm not gonna talk about that stuff. I'm just gonna talk about this as a product and my experience with this product in the past 24 hours. Now, let's start off with this red because it is gorgeous. It is this beautiful, just luscious red paint coat. And as far as I'm concerned, paint quality seems pretty on par. It looks pretty good, especially here in this beautiful morning sunlight. It has a nice little bit of like richness to it. You can tell it's got a tiny bit of like gold flake in there just because it gives it that really beautiful, vibrant tone. Coming to the front of the Tesla Model X, obviously because it doesn't have a internal combustion engine, you don't have your traditional large grills sucking in tons of air. You have a little area here, a little area here to barely cool off the batteries, and that's really gonna be it. You also have an area here that's going to push air around the wheel wells. That's basically going to create an air curtain and just help guide the airflow as efficiently as possible. And that's why you don't see a ton of lines on this car. You've got one prominent line right here, one prominent line right there, and that's pretty much gonna be it. As far as drag coefficient, I believe the drag coefficient on here is like 0.25 is the official number, though I've also heard 0.24, so not 100% sure. I can't find any hard facts, but I know it's definitely one of the lowest in the SUV segment. Now, as far as the lights are concerned, you are going to have full LED headlights. So I love the daytime running light. It's this really thick LED strip, and it looks great. You can see it from far away. You can see it great at night. You do have great night presence in this vehicle. It looks stunning at night, and it's just got a really crisp, expensive look to it. All right, so next up, let's talk wheels. So believe it or not, these are 22-inch wheels. And if you see this thing in person, I mean, you just wouldn't guess that these are that big. I guess the wheel arches on here are designed in such a way that it really does make the wheels on here look small, because this truly is a very large vehicle. But these are wrapped in Pirelli Scorpion Zero tires, and this does have a slightly staggered setup. So you have two 65 35s in the front, and you're gonna have two 85 35s in the rear, which makes sense because this is the performance model, and we'll get to the performance specs in just a little bit. You can always spot it with the red brake calipers right back here. Now, of course, anyone can go and paint their brake calipers red, so you just gotta trust that you're dealing with a performance or you're not dealing with a performance. Now, coming over here off to the side, you are going to have an integrated blinker right here with your camera. It's also gonna have your Tesla logo right on top of there as well. As you come down, you've got your door handles. I'll show you guys how that works in just a moment, but I do like the way it looks. So from far away, it really adds to the silhouette of the vehicle just because you don't have anything crazy going on. It just looks fantastic, and it gives it a nice, clean, even look. Now, as you come to the back quarter panel of the Model X, this is an interesting angle because you either hate this angle or you love this angle. Personally, I'm indifferent towards it. It's definitely not my favorite angle. I like it from the profile and from the front. Back here, it gives it this real like Hunchback of Notre Dame sort of look. But once again, that's all due to aerodynamics. So there's no denying the fact that aerodynamically, this is functional in the way that it looks. You also have a spoiler here. Now, one thing is that this no longer has the automated spoiler. So let me brighten it up just a little bit. Now this spoiler is going to be fixed. So you guys can see that right there. It's not going to move, go up and down, but your third brake light is going to be integrated into that spoiler right there. Of course, LED lights in the back. Even your blinker is going to be LED. Those look great at night as well, and they're really simplistic. I really wish Tesla would do something a little bit more unique with the rear tail lights because they seem just very basic in my personal opinion. Then as you come over here, you're gonna have your dual motor badge right over here on the right side, and you've got a little bit of a diffuser coming down here. Of course, no exhaust because we all know that it's full electric. All right guys, so here's your key for your Tesla Model X. So obviously looks just like the silhouette of the vehicle, which is pretty nice. You guys can see that right there. Now, here's the cool part about this. So for example, if I hit the top twice, that's gonna open my driver door. If I hit it one more time, that's gonna open the passenger door, if you guys can see that over there. Double tap this window, that's gonna open the Falcon doors. And then if I hit it one more time to lock, that will close everything up. Now, one other thing that's cool about the key, so if I hit this, hold it, and then I hold the back part of the vehicle. You can hold the front or the back, doesn't really matter. You can move the car forwards and backwards, which is really cool. So yeah, pretty neat key. I do miss the fact that this actually has a key fob, whereas like the Model 3 and stuff doesn't have a key fob. All right, so once you've done all the fun stuff with the key, to get in is very easy. You just simply walk up to the car, and as you get closer, the door should actually pop open just like that. I didn't have to do a single thing, so that is pretty nice. All right, so once we are inside the Model X, there are a few different interior options. This one is like this tan with the wood. Personally, I prefer the white leather seats with the carbon fiber. I think that's the way I would go, or even black seats with carbon fiber. Either way, I wouldn't do the wood, but it looks pretty decent either way. So you're going to have, oh, by the way, it is faux leather, so Tesla does not use real leather seating surfaces. I think aside from the steering wheel on this generation, that's the only thing that's going to be leather. So either way, looking here on the armrest, it is nicely padded, and it's got a good amount of give to it. As you guys can see, it's pretty soft right there. It's got some stitching right there. Here's that wood. You guys can clearly see that right there. It looks pretty decent. I'm just not a huge fan of wood, but if you like it, then there you go. You have your door handle, of course, integrated right over here. You're gonna have your window and mirror controls right over here. You guys can see that. A little bit of storage space down here. You're gonna have this interesting like X pattern right there for your Model X. Floor mats would go here, but you have aluminum pedals since this is the performance model. And sorry about the hardcore shadows, but here is your seats. So once again, not actual leather, but they are some of the most comfortable seats I believe I've ever sat in. They've got a decent amount of thigh bolstering. Your seat adjustments are going to be right down here. Once again, sorry about the shadows. And you actually have a really good amount of side bolstering right here, so that looks pretty good. But let's go ahead and hop in and we'll check out the rest of the vehicle. All right, so shutting the door on the Model X is very easy. All you gotta do is push the brake here, and that will close the door. Simple. Here's another angle of me doing it because I thought that was one of the coolest things ever. And opening the door is the same thing basically. So you're going to pull this handle. The door's gonna open right up for you. Pretty nice. But the door shut is pretty solid, and as soon as the door shuts, the vehicle turns on. Okay, so starting with the steering wheel on the Model X, it's very simple, 3-spoke design. It's not gonna have any aluminum pieces. This is actually just gonna be plastic right here. The leather quality is pretty nice, and it's got a really thick wheel. It's really nice. It feels really good. Over here on the right side, you're gonna have voice commands. You're gonna have these buttons here to control this screen. I'll show you that in just a second. And over here to the left are all of your media. So previous, next, volume. Now over here, that's gonna be your stock to put it into like park, reverse, neutral, drive. So very simple. And over here you have 3 stocks. So this one here in the middle is going to be to adjust the steering wheel. This one is going to be for your blinkers and your wipers, and of course your high beams. And then this one down here is going to be for your cruise control and or autopilot. Now coming up, looking at this screen right here, so let me tone this down just a bit. Screen's very simple. So using the buttons to the right, like I showed you guys, I can see like my average, like I think it's watt hours per mile. I hope I'm saying that right, but basically that's your energy consumption right there. Now over to the left, I do have it set to music. And then over here, if I push one of the buttons, I can adjust fan speed just by using that dial. If I tap it, it'll put it on auto. If I hit the back button, I can change that to display brightness, recent calls, contacts, temperature. I can adjust whatever I want. Press and hold, and you can pull up your energy charts. You can pull up your clock, music, trip monitor, car status, different things like that. So it's pretty nice. I actually do like this setup over, let's say, the Model 3. Don't mind the Model 3 setup, but this is just a little bit more convenient, I feel like, but to each their own. Now, coming back out here, you're going to have some pretty nice wood accents right here, which look pretty good. You can have some leather right here. This entire headliner is going to be lined in Alcantara, so hopefully you can see that right there. You can have a speaker right here. Now you do have this gigantic windshield, which is absolutely massive. You guys can get a better look of it right here. Another interesting thing is the mirrors, the vanity mirrors. So the vanity mirrors go across just like that. They're all magnet based, and hopefully it'll focus right there. Then you're going to fold that down. Then below that you have your actual mirror. Very interesting. Tesla's over here reinventing the sun visor. Now there is one negative to having this giant setup. So let's say, for example, like a bird poops right here. You can use your wipers, which, let me turn the wipers on. There we go. So the wipers go to about right here. So if a bird poops right here or here and you see it, you have to take it to a car wash. It's just not going to reach. And that is the only annoying thing about this. Other than that, I love the way it looks. I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But there are little quirks to having special, unique features like that. You also have this giant speaker, which is going to be right back here for Tesla's sound system, which is a fantastic sound system. So I've heard a lot of good things about it, and they're all pretty much true because it sounds incredible. Everything else is controlled through this screen right here. So 90% of what you're going to use for the car is controlled through here. You do have your hazards over here to the left, if you guys can see that right there. And you're going to have your release for your glove compartment right there. So moving back here in the middle, let's go through this a little bit. So you do have audio streaming on here. So I believe it's like Spotify or something like that. All your radio streaming services. If I hit this little car, it's going to bring up everything about the vehicle. So I can open the doors, open the passenger door, front trunk, rear trunk, fold in the mirrors, fog lights, display brightness, all that good stuff. Seats, if I want to go through, I can actually adjust the passenger seats right here. I can adjust my seats right there. Below that, you have suspension. So you're going to have very high, high, standard, low, very low. So very low is what I have it set to lowering to on the highway. That way I have the lowest drag coefficient, therefore increasing your range, or not really increasing it, but helping you to achieve your maximum range. Okay, one thing I did not mention in this entire review, and I did not realize it until I was editing, was the Raven suspension on this Model X Performance. So this is the brand new Raven suspension that has been codenamed, and it's basically adaptive suspension that is new for this vehicle, and you can switch between two different modes. You guys can see that here on the screen at the very bottom. When I was just talking about the ride height, right below that you can also see the normal suspension setup and the sportier suspension setup. Now you can switch between those two. I did switch between them both. I just don't know why I failed to mention it in the video, but the normal one drives incredibly supple. It's really luxurious and it's fantastic. The sport one, it definitely feels sportier, especially when you have it at its lowest ride height. You can really feel those bumps, but the positive is that it seriously handles like a big sedan. It handles so incredibly well. This Model X can definitely deliver. Lighting, so you can adjust your ambient lights, which you do have ambient lights in here. You guys can see that there. It's pretty simplistic. You don't have footwell lighting or anything like that, but it is just enough to make the cabin a little bit brighter, though I would prefer to have footwell lighting and different color options on here. Driving mode, so chill, sport, ludicrous. Ludicrous plus, which if you guys have never done that, you basically hold this. Star Wars is going to come up. And then, no, I want my mommy, or yes, bring it on. And then once you do bring it on, it will basically prep the battery or heat the battery. And then once it gets to a certain point, then you can do like your launches and all that cool stuff. Steering modes, regenerative braking, standard or low. You cannot turn off regenerative braking, so that is one thing on here you'll have to get used to. Creep, which will allow the vehicle to move forward as if you're in a normal combustion engine vehicle. Slip start is basically like turning off your traction control. Range mode, trailer mode, autopilot, which you can go through and adjust all of your autopilot settings. Also, for those of you who are making a huge deal about autopilot stuff, you know what? I'm not even gonna talk about that.
You already did.
Did I in the video?
The definition?
Yeah.
You already said that in your intro.
Oh well. Next, you're gonna have vehicle settings. You can adjust the Falcon door height right there. Automatic doors, close with the key fob, driver unlock, all kinds of different things through here. Adjust your display brightness, screen cleaning mode. Press and hold to exit screen cleaning mode. Different trips, navigation, safety, security, services, software updates. You can do all that through here, which is pretty awesome. Then there's this map, which is the most responsive map I think I've ever used in any vehicle ever. So there's that. You can navigate here. So if you navigate somewhere, so let's say we went to just a random supercharger. Once you are on the highway on autopilot, you can click navigate on autopilot, and then at that point it will, you know, navigate you. But it'll only do it when you're on the highway on autopilot. Then it'll give you the option to navigate on autopilot. So you have that. Up here you're gonna have like home link right there for your garage. Different profiles. I can hit this, you can name your vehicle, it tells you what vehicle this is. Pull that down, you have all of your Easter eggs, which there's a ton to go through. So for example, we are going to have this like romantic mode right here, which is pretty funny. So it shows you this fireplace. It's gonna heat up your heated seats, turn on the heater, and then if you tap it, it's getting romantic in here, everybody. It's so funny. So you have that. You're gonna have different Easter eggs. You guys have probably already seen the rest of these, like the whoopee cushion. Which is pretty hilarious. And it's so unique, it's so different. This is really what separates Tesla from a lot of manufacturers, just because they don't take everything too seriously, which is either a good or a bad thing, but I quite enjoy it. Then again, I'm also 26 years old, so I still sometimes act like a child. So you have tons of cool things like that. You can turn your map into Mars, which is pretty awesome. It turns this into like this awesome SpaceX ship right here, or not ship, but rocket. You're gonna have your camera. You're gonna have internet because you're always connected to the internet. Then you have the arcade, which is one really cool thing. So the way the arcade will work is, let's say if I'm charging and I want to waste some time, you can pick through any of these games, and it's super cool. So later on in the video, I'm going to supercharge the vehicle, and during that supercharging session, my wife and I were actually playing the beach buggy racing, and it's super fun, and it's just so unique. I mean, there's really no other car that can do that, and it's super special. I think it's awesome, and yeah. So that's pretty much going to be the gist of all this. There are a little bit more specifics, but it's really a lot to go through, so I am going to halt right there for now. Now moving down, you are going to actually have an area right underneath here. And this area is going to be like kind of like a storage area. You can put a phone or something in there. You've got some more of that wood here. It actually, the grain feels really good. You've got leather here, leather padding all right here, which is nice to like rest your knees on. Push that back. You're going to have your cup holders in here. Now it is very, very dark in here, but you can adjust the cup holders, or you can take these rings out altogether, and then you just have more storage space. Push this forward, you've got a little bit more storage space right down there. You also have 2 USBs and a 12 volt in there as well. This does not have Apple CarPlay, in case you guys are wondering. You have to either Bluetooth or plug your phone in directly. Cup holders right here with more of that matte wood. You can also scoot your armrest up just like that. As you come up, you have a frameless mirror, which looks nice. Auto dimming, of course. And that's pretty much going to be it for the interior, at least for the front. So let's go ahead and hop in the back seat and we'll check out the room. All right, so to get into the back seat of the Model X, it's very easy. You're actually going to push this part of the door handle on the outside. So you push that, the doors are going to open right up, as you guys can see. Very, very cool. Definitely a party trick of this vehicle. Now, for those of you that are wondering, if you are in a tight space, it will open. So here's a video of it opening up in a tight space. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to lift upwards more than outwards. And that's going to allow you to get in or sneak your way in. So I'm going to go ahead, hop onto the other side. So sitting in the back seat of the Model X, it's very decently comfortable. So behind my set seating position, I mean, I have about 3.5 inches maybe of leg room or knee room right here. My feet can definitely slide underneath. That's not an issue. Headroom, so let's go ahead and close this. There are 2 buttons located right here. It's going to have a picture of the Tesla with the doors up, and of course a picture with it with the doors down. So we're going to push the one with the doors down. So once that is closed, I've got a decent amount of headroom. I mean, I have about 2.5 to 3 inches of headroom, and I'm 6 feet tall once again. So that is really nice. I can also move the seat forwards and backwards. So that is, it's nice. It's comfortable. I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vents back here. I have 2 vents right over here, and I've got 4 vents here in the middle. I've got 2 USB ports, and you also have a super cool view of the inside of this cabin. I love the way it looks looking at the front. You've got the giant windshield. You've got your own piece of glass roof up here, which looks really cool. And it's just a really nice place to be. But let's go ahead and hop in the 3rd row and see how that is. Okay, so sitting in the 3rd row of the Model X, you don't have a ton of room back here, to be honest. So being 6 feet tall, it's definitely not somewhere I'd want to sit. The roof is really low. My head is like touching the glass. And then even if I were to scoot this seat backwards, that's about where I would be sat, and it's just, it's not comfortable. There's no room back here. The seats are very upright too, so I can't like recline really. Yeah, no, I can't recline. You do have a little window here, which is pretty nice, with a vent. So I've got some air. I can at least look out. I don't feel like I'm in like a prison back here. But there's nothing else back here. You don't have cup holders. You don't have, well, you do have 2 cup holders here in the middle. But you don't have like USB ports, anything like that. Yeah, so definitely just for little children. Adults would not want to sit back here at all. So in reality, this is just a really nice 4 or 5 seat vehicle. That's pretty much the best way to put it. If you want to get the 3rd row back here, it's definitely going to be just for little children only. But let's go ahead and check out the trunk space. Okay, so coming to the back of the Model X, very easy. There's a button right here. You push that, or you can use your key and push the back part of the key to open up the hatch. Now, once you have the hatch open, you've got a decent amount of storage space back here. You guys can see the exact cubic feet here on the screen. Now, behind the 3rd row, I can fit my backpack back here. You have a little bit of tethers here if you need to put nets or anything like that. You have a 12 volt, and because you don't have a gas tank in this area, you lift this up and you have an incredible amount of room. It's absolutely cavernous underneath there, so that is nice. Now back here you are going to have your charging cables. So this is going to be your charging cable. You plug it in at home, and basically it's going to be like a 110 volt plug. So it's like a trickle charge. You'll gain anywhere from 30 to 50 miles overnight, basically. But you can also upgrade to like a 240 or 240, right? Volt plug. I think that's correct. And at that point, it's basically a dryer plug. So at that point, you can gain almost a full charge over the course of like 8 hours or so. So that is beneficial because while you're sleeping, you can fully charge this, and that will be the easiest way to do that. Now, as far as the charging port, it is located right here on the side. So you're gonna push this little reflector area here. That's gonna be your charge port. Well integrated into the side, and I really like that right there. But that's pretty much it for the trunk area. Let's go ahead and check out the front trunk, and then we'll take this thing for a drive. All right, so coming into the front trunk of the Model X, you can call it a frunk if you want to. I just prefer not to use that term. But coming under here, you are going to have a really good amount of space under here as well. I actually don't know the cubic feet on here, but I'm gonna look it up and hopefully have it here on the screen for you guys. But it is really deep. You can fit at least 2 suitcases in here. The floor mats are in here right now for this one. And yeah, it's just really neat having this just for storage practicality wise. It's actually really nice, very beneficial. And if you need to fit more things in this, you can definitely do that by having this front trunk. But that's pretty much it. If you guys want to know about the battery specs, basically this is going to be 2 motors. So you're gonna have a motor mounted to the front axle, rear axle, and then you're gonna have your battery pack located right in between your wheelbase. So that's gonna make the center of gravity very low. So all your weight is gonna be right in the middle of the car at the very bottom, which is probably the best place that it can be. This is gonna make, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 700 horsepower. I've got the horsepower specs right here on the screen and the torque specs here on the screen as well. So this will get to 60 in about as little as 2.8 seconds. So let's go ahead, get this on the road and see how it does. All right, so driving the Tesla Model X. Now, I'm gonna start by going down this hill because I'm gonna see how this thing handles. Because all your weight is down low, like I said, should equate to pretty good handling. From what I've heard, this has pretty good handling for an SUV. So let's go ahead and see how good that is, shall we? All right, so we've got the suspension in its lowest setting, so that should help, and then we're in ludicrous mode. So, handles pretty well. It's handling really well, but it's just like it's on steamrollers. I mean, this thing feels large. Now, one thing I will admit is when you put it into its lowest setting, as far as suspension is concerned, it's really bumpy, especially back here on this road, which isn't very forgiving. You can feel all the bumps, and as you guys saw back there, there's one pretty good bump that sort of jolted the car a bit. Didn't feel too good. But yeah, so I mean, but that's what you get when you put the suspension in a lower setting. Of course, when you raise it, those bumps aren't much of an issue. Now, since we are here on this road, the best part about ludicrous mode is when you just absolutely floor it, and this thing is super ridiculously fast. It's just insane that an SUV can go this quickly. Now, this thing's like 5,600 pounds. This isn't a lightweight vehicle. So the fact that it can go as fast as it does is mighty impressive. Steering is pretty good. I've got the steering set to sport mode, so sport mode steering feels great. The normal steering feels pretty good. It's just a little bit too light for my taste. This is like perfect for everyday driving in my opinion. It's got just a good amount of feedback, and it doesn't feel like a video game steering wheel. This is the most natural in my opinion. So the difference between like chill, sport, ludicrous mode in terms of the acceleration is really just how much power you have under your right foot. So when you're in chill, you can like fully floor it and you're not gonna be going any kind of crazy, ridiculous speeds. Ludicrous mode, basically it gives you all of your power, and it's all based off of your throttle input. So if you go like 5% on the throttle, you have 5% power. You go all the way 100% on the throttle, you have 100% of your power just right then and there, ready to go. That's the biggest difference. So you just have to have more throttle control or accelerator control when you are in ludicrous mode than when you're in chill. Chill, it's a little bit more forgiving because you can go a little bit further down the accelerator and you're not going to be flying to Mars. So that's the biggest difference. Now, in terms of how quiet it is, it's pretty quiet in here. You can hear the electric motors kind of doing their thing in the background. You just hear like little buzzes, little whirring noises, and it's, you know, it's nothing too crazy. But I mean, I like the way it drives during the day. It's great, it's comfortable. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually switch the suspension to standard. So it's raising right now. You can hear everything kind of doing its thing. And at this point, it's a little bit more floaty. It feels great. And this is definitely where you would want to be when you're driving this thing every day. I mean, this is just, it's definitely a lot more livable than what I was just in. And of course, having this awesome view during the day is pretty nice. One thing is that it does get a little bit warm in here. So you don't get interesting, crazy designs like this without their quirky drawbacks. And that would be the bird poop thing I talked about earlier, and the fact on super hot days, because it's 81 right now, but we're in Texas and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning, so it's gonna get up to like 96, 97 today. And at that point, it doesn't really create like a greenhouse effect, but you kind of have to keep the AC blowing a lot more than normal, which uses a little bit more power. And then, yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is that spoiler back there. Because it is fixed, I feel like it creates a little bit more drag. I'd have to really look into it and figure it out. But in my head, if it doesn't go down at any point, feel like all it's doing is creating more drag. And at that point, I'm using more energy to get this thing moving and using more of my range. So I'm interested to see how that would be long term between this and one that didn't have a spoiler, but I only have this for 24 hours, so I don't have nearly enough time to really look into that. All right, so hands down, the best part is acceleration from a stop. So I'm not gonna do launch mode right now. I just have slip start on, and I'm just gonna lay into the accelerator. Oh, because it takes off so hard, and that's 60 right there. It's so insane how fast this thing is. It's crazy. And I know a lot of people say like, oh, it's just quick, but like this is legitimately fast. It's so ridiculous. Now, the one thing I love about this vehicle is it looks better when it's moving. Definitely looks better when it's in motion. Especially this combination I have here with the red with the black wheels. I think that's the only way to do it, is get the black wheels. The ones I've seen with the basic wheels, it's crazy how much of a difference just wheels makes, because those look really goofy without a nice set of wheels. It just does. We're gonna go ahead and go to a supercharger right now and charge this bad boy up and see how that does. All right, so here's the most convenient part about charging a Tesla. With any other vehicle, you have to get out, pull out your card, tap a few buttons, swipe it, plug it in, wait for it to connect, and then the charging process will start. So this is very easy. All you do is pull up to the supercharger, pull this out, push this button right on top. That's gonna open the charge port, and then you just stick it in like that. The car is already connected to like your bank account, and so from there, it's already charging your card as you charge. So that's the most convenient part about a Tesla supercharger versus I think any other charging method I've personally used. All right, so let's go ahead and hop inside. Ugh. Now, it says right now that we are charging at 408 miles an hour. So it says it should take about 35 minutes to get a full charge. Right now, it is 6:35 p.m. So let's see what time it actually finishes. All right, so the charging is all done, and looks like we have a grand total of 270 miles. It is 7:07 p.m. So charging is very simple, as you guys can see. So now I'm going to unplug, get on the road, and then we will do some nighttime driving. All right, so driving the Model X P100D at night. So I love nighttime driving. It's so chill, there's less people on the road, and it's just always a good time. Now, with newer cars, it's even better because of the lighting tech. And what's cool is you need to have bright lights in this P100D, especially when you're going super fast. Man, this thing is insane. Technically, it's ludicrous, but like that just, oh man, it just doesn't get old. It does not. So what's it really like to drive at night? Well, I love how these screens go into like their night mode. I think it looks really cool. It's almost like when you switch your YouTube screen to like the dark theme or the light theme. I like the dark theme, it looks pretty cool. It makes all the other colors and everything pop. This windshield is huge, so you guys can see that light that just kind of, watch these lights, how they just, it's such a unique thing. It's so cool. And you know what's interesting about this vehicle, you guys? It is, in my opinion, the best vehicle that Tesla makes. Now, the Model 3 may have better battery tech. The Model S may be a little bit faster. You know, there's word they're working on like a plaid mode for the Model S. That's all cool. But when you compare this vehicle to its direct competitors in this price point, because this one as I have it equipped, is about 110, 118,000. Vehicles that compete against this is like the Lexus LX 570, the you know, Toyota Land Cruiser, the Infiniti QX80, things like that. Now granted, those are true 4x4 vehicles. On the flip side of that, how many people do you really know, other than like 1% of people, that truly take their Land Cruiser, their LX 570, their QX80 off-roading? It's not very many people. So here's where this comes in. This is more of a crossover. It is a crossover. So it's basically a car platform. It doesn't have a true like solid axles anywhere. It's all independent. And a lot of people wonder, why is this SUV something that someone would get? Because it's not technically an SUV like most people are used to. That is true. But here's what's also true about this. What other vehicle can you get where you literally have supercar-like acceleration, but you're not having to sacrifice ride quality, you're not having to sacrifice having a hard shifting vehicle? Because let's face it, even the best performance SUVs, they shift pretty hard. Even when you're just cruising, you feel those shifts, you know. And the crazy part is with this, you're not spending nearly as much on fuel. Easily 60 to 80 bucks, maybe over $100 if you're living in California, to fill up one of those bad boys. This, I'd be surprised if you paid over 20 bucks for a charge, you know? And if you pay around the same amount as you do with those vehicles to fill up, I mean, you're talking at least 2, 4, 6, 3 full charges, 3 to 4 full charges. And then at that point, you're taking, let's say, at least 280 times like 3 or 4. I mean, you're closing in on 800 total miles of driving for that same price you would pay to fill up its gas equivalent. And then you're getting supercar-like performance. You've got that same solid feeling as you do in those cars, because this weighs about 5,600 pounds. That is exactly as much as like an LX570 Land Cruiser weighs, and this has all its weight at the bottom. So not only is it less likely to roll over, it just handles better. I mean, it's just, if you think about it, you guys, if you put aside all the stigma about Tesla, this is seriously the most impressive vehicle that they make, with all the tech, the doors, the way everything just feels so special, especially like right now. I'm driving underneath all these lights. They're all going over this windshield. It's so cool. I've got this cool view here. I'm driving a full electric vehicle that rides incredibly well, and at any given moment I can just lay into it. Oh, and I'm going, don't look, I'm going really fast. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. I enjoyed making it for y'all. If you have any more questions, be sure to comment below. I'd love to answer any other questions I didn't answer in this video. And I want to hear your thoughts. Would you get this Model X now that you've seen this review? Does it not change your mind on how you see the Model X? You know, granted, battery-powered vehicles aren't for everyone. If you plan on driving super far, but I mean, with close to 300 miles, I mean, you can pretty much drive anywhere you want. As you guys saw, the superchargers are nice and quick to use. There's plenty of them, and it's cheaper. It just is. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and I will see you guys in the next review. Y'all take care. Bye.